Hello, curious souls, quiet hearts, and the ones who still believe. I'm Luma. Get comfortable, but keep your eyes open, because
it's time for the story.
Distilled from the northbound dead, inspired by Stories from Finland. For nearly a decade, I spent every weekend standing at the doors of bars, buried deep in the frostbitten corners of rural Finland. 9 years of cold nights, cheap beer, and people too bored not to fight. It was good money, sure, and most nights were uneventful, quiet, predictable. But every now and then, you'd get the kind of chaos only inbred boredom and too much Koskenkorva can cook up. Fights over the dumbest crap imaginable. One guy tried to strangle another with jumper cables because he claimed his cousin stole his ice fishing spot back in 2006. Like that was worth a hospital bill. I didn't care. I'd throw them out, charge them for whatever they broke, and they'd be back in a couple of months like nothing happened. Some bars, though, well, were just wrong. Especially in the middle of nowhere. When a single bar is the only place to drink within 40 kilometers, it collects all the rot. The drunks, the bitter, the violent. Everyone with nowhere else to go. The decent folks, they drive into the city just to avoid them. Eventually, I wised up and ditched the worst venues. I stuck to this small pub far out in the woods. Quiet, clean, kind patrons. Hell, they even tipped me from time to time, which is basically unheard of in Finland. Everything about the place was low-key, no drama, no fights. Just one odd thing. My shift always started late. 11 p.m. sharp, no idea why. I got paid per night, not by the hour, so I didn't argue. Less work for the same cash. Great deal to me. Then came daylight savings. It was autumn, 2013. I was driving through the forest toward the bar and realized I was going to arrive a full hour early, typical me. But I figured I'd just hang around and maybe grab a smoke. What else was I going to do out here? Still, as I drove, something felt off. The darkness looked thicker than usual. My headlights weren't doing much, even though I'd just had them cleaned. Trees pressed in on both sides of the road, their silhouettes looming like they were watching. I felt it in my chest before I could explain it in words. Something was wrong. Really wrong. But I shook it off. I mean, come on. I'm a massive dude, built to keep people safe, a professional. You really think I'm going to turn around just because the forest felt moody? When I pulled into the pub's gravel lot, I noticed something strange right away. Silence. The building was dark. No music, no flickering lights through the windows. It should have been open by now. I didn't see a soul, not on the porch, not in the village nearby. Usually there'd be a car or two, someone smoking out front, even just a light in a distant house. But nothing. Still, I got out of the car and walked up to the entrance. That same thick feeling wrapped around me again, like I wasn't supposed to be here. My stomach twisted. My body was literally pulling me back toward the car. And still, I went inside. The door wasn't locked. That should have been my cue to run. But instead, I thought, power's probably out. Maybe there was a storm. Probably nothing. I stepped inside. Pitch black. No music. No voices. Just that overwhelming silence. But not empty silence. Watching silence. The kind that feels like something is holding its breath just out of sight. Then I heard whispering. Not ghostly movie-style whispering. Human. Real. Like the low hum of a conversation you're not meant to hear. It was coming from the bar's main room. I moved quietly down the hall, toward the glass door that separated me from the voices. The glass was covered in old black tape, but some strips had peeled away. I leaned in, peeking through a narrow gap. This next part is hard to describe. It's hard to even think about. But if I don't get it out, it'll keep clawing at the back of my skull forever. The bar looked normal, sort of, dimly lit. A group of people stood around the counter, sipping from little cups. Something on the bar gave off a dull, warm glow, like a candle or small lamp. Then I noticed they were dipping their cups into it, into a large glass jar. I thought it might be punch at first, some weird house brew, until I saw what was inside. The jar held a clear liquid, and floating in it was a baby, a small, bloated, decomposing baby, skin peeling in ribbons, bits of flesh breaking off, swirling around like confetti. And those people, those ordinary-looking people, were catching those bits in their cups and drinking it. They were drinking it, the liquid, the body, all of it. I didn't scream, didn't gasp. I backed away like my bones had turned to ice and ran. The cold air outside hit me like a wall, but something was off. It wasn't just cold, it was heavy, like breathing soup. My limbs didn't want to move. Every step felt like I was dragging myself through wet cement. I don't think it was shock. I think it was the darkness. Something in it had gotten stronger, denser, and it didn't want me to leave, but it couldn't hold me. Not yet. I staggered to my car, yanked the door open, and called emergency services. Finland's got solid reception everywhere, even out here, so the call went through. I didn't waste time. Told the dispatcher I'd seen what looked like the murder, or at least the desecration of an infant. I said I felt unsafe. I needed help. Fast. They believed me. The car started on the first try. I peeled out of the lot, drove to the main road, and waited. At 10:30 p.m., the first police car rolled up, and that's when I saw them. People, strolling from the direction of the bar like it was any other night. Calm, chatty, completely unfazed. Like they hadn't just drunk death by the cupful. I flagged the cops down and told them everything. They didn't brush me off. They called for backup. The rest of the night is a blur. I stayed in the back of a patrol car, pointing out faces. Then the officers went inside. They found the jar. I didn't look at it again, but one of the officers did. I'll never forget his face when he came back out. He looked wrong, like something had been ripped out of him. Here's the part that still keeps me up. They traced the body back to a woman in my hometown. Turns out she'd been giving birth in secret, killing her own babies and keeping them in a freezer. The official story was that the neighbors reported a smell. That's what the news ran with. But I know the truth. It was that night, that pub, that jar. They never mentioned it, never said a word about the 20 or so people involved. I don't know if it was to protect the investigation or to hide something else entirely, because I don't think it was just human evil at work. When I ran from that building, something followed. I didn't see it, but I felt it. It's been with me ever since, lingering at the edges of my sleep, peeking from the corners of dark rooms. Maybe it was just trauma. Maybe the mind makes monsters to cope with horror. But what if it wasn't? What if that thing, that presence, was the reason they drank? Whatever the answer is, it's not just mine to carry anymore. I'm tired of fighting it alone. This secret, this curse, is now yours. We hope you enjoyed the story. To submit your own story, email us at the email on screen. You can also find this in the description. See you next time.